Welcome to the Stress Outlet. My name is Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and little Giovanni and I are out here on the deck, staying out of the rifle fire. And what we wanted to talk about today is confirmation bias, though, as it sort of affects the individual going to events, because that's true all the year round, not just in the holidays. But since the holidays are upon us, we thought we'd talk about it now. And again, true for all the time. But we like to first say what it is, because some people may not really know what it is. So confirmation bias is unconscious. Any kind of bias is unconscious. So it's coming from the vault. It's important to know that, which is why we have to bring it into awareness, right? So confirmation bias is actually twofold. And many people really, I think, just get the first part of it, which means like-minded individuals, or forget that. Well, it is that, but let's just say one person seeking information we already hold to be true. So one big example that's a very common example is politics. People, hanging out with people who think exactly the way they do, dismissing, anybody else with a different opinion, and sort of, seeking support and evidence to hold up what they already believe in. So that's just a really common example, but it can be any example. It can also be anything in the prejudice family, looking for evidence, that such and such a group, based on behavior, based on what they wear, based on religious attire, religious rituals, or whatever, that group of people behaves that certain way. That's all confirmation bias. So it's obviously, very dangerous. But here's the thing, that's kind of like the big level. On the holiday level, when we're going to events, let's say, and again, it would work for events any time of the year, in the workplace, family stuff, chosen family, whatever it is. So this is why it's so important to get this and really be aware of confirmation bias, because it can really just, other than those big ways it can throw a wrench in our day, it can throw a wrench in our day just sitting at Thanksgiving. So here's the thing. If we're looking for confirmation bias, if we're confirmation bias in this way, if we're unconsciously looking for, information to support what we already believe to be true at a social thing, it might be something like, maybe you're an adult and you've thought since the beginning of your time, let's say, that your parents favored, they liked your sister best, or they favored your brother, or it's something where you go to a thing and there's that one uncle who's got to stick his nose in everybody's business. It's what he does every year. And it may be true, he does do that every year. We can also have a preconceived notion that so-and-so is super spoiled. As an adult, maybe they grew up like that and now they're still like that, or they're gonna be arrogant at this thing and just be demeaning and whatever. So we can look for evidence to support that, because where the focus goes, the energy flows, and what we look for, we will find. The high majority of the time. So here's the thing, awareness is the key to most problems. And getting them. Kind of derailing them, throwing that off, because when we're aware of our confirmation bias, we can sort of choose to not do that. So actually, I have another good example. It's often with children, but it can be with adults. And one of the reasons I've experienced it is being a Fast Mind Club member, aka ADHD, but the Fast Mind Club is a much more positive way to say that. So let's say with kids, you see it a lot, especially with this particular wiring difference, which is, they kind of, tap somebody on the shoulder, or even smack them, or whatever it is, or do something else to overturn something in the classroom. And right away, often the teacher, oh, there goes her ADHD again, when maybe the kid in front of her was just really annoying and she couldn't take it anymore. And that doesn't have anything to do with her ADHD. That kid was just annoying. And we do that a lot with anxiety and depression. We do it to ourselves. There goes my anxiety again. I knew I'd screw this up. I really like that person, and now we're not dating anymore because there goes my anxiety again. Looking for support for whatever that is to be true. Confirmation bias really throws a wrench in our days, which means it throws a wrench in our lives. And so it's really of utmost importance to be aware of that, so we're not looking for it in other people. It doesn't mean that person isn't arrogant or spoiled, or they really were favored by your parents. It just means we don't want to go looking for evidence to keep making it bigger and stronger, so that our feelings get bigger and stronger. We're walking around with big feelings, at Thanksgiving, and big feelings at Christmas or Hanukkah, they're taking away from our experience. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. We can't control anybody else. We can only control what our perception is. So if we can try to shift, as hard as it may be, I'm not saying it's easy, but if we can shift out of that, again, even if they are those things, and those things often happen, we'll see it a little less, which will be therefore better for us, because that person, that annoyingness, that arrogant stuff isn't going to be so front and center when we start to shift into something that's positive about that person. Shift in, maybe they're super thoughtful, maybe they're super funny, and they're good at lightening up, the whole room. Then just try really hard to shift into that and find new evidence. Okay, the other part of confirmation bias, which many people miss, I'm just going to go inside here with all of you and check on the wood stove so I don't burn the house down. Okay, looks like all is well. That's a good thing. Okay, so the other part that people often dismiss or don't know about or whatever with confirmation bias is that, okay, so the first part is that most people know, seeking information to support what we already believe to be true. The second part is dismissing evidence to the contrary. Evidence to the contrary. So let's just take your sister's, your parents' favorite. Again, we're not saying it's not true. Here's the thing, though. Because we're unconsciously really looking to hold that up and make it strong and make it big, we often miss evidence to the contrary of when they do something just for us. Let's say Dad just made some really wonderfully warm and squishy chocolate chip cookies, and he's like, "Shh, come here. Do you want to lick the bowl? Or do you want the first warm one?" And it's you, and it's not your sister. But we're not thinking about that. We don't throw that against the wall to support that she's the favorite. We just dismiss it, that we're the one who got the warm chocolate cookie, or we got to lick the bowl and not her, right? And so we dismiss that stuff naturally, because again, it's unconscious. Now here's the other thing that's very important. Very, very important. So stay with me. We do that with ourselves frequently. If it's like, let's say the fast mind example, we can do that to ourselves. So for me, I've been a work in progress with interrupting. It's hard. I mean, I'm wired for being impulsive, and I've gotten way better with it at Fabulous 59. And, so it's easy for us to say, oh, there goes my fast mind again. I interrupted like 3 times. It doesn't mean that you didn't do it. It just doesn't mean to make it bigger. Like, okay, so you interrupted. You're working hard at it. You're not looking for perfection. You're looking for progress. That's very important. Note to self, for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm just going to be mindful, have the tell me more mindset, not say anything, get back on board with waiting for the person to finish talking, leaving a nice pause, and then saying what I have to say. So rather than beating myself up, to just make that shift, take a little quiet time, nobody else is noticing but me, because you're not trying to prove a point, not being quiet for hours. Just, taking some mental time to regroup, breathe, pause, and then respond, rather than, there goes my fast mind again. I've had this my whole life. Big, and then big feelings and big feeling down about myself. No, that's all confirmation bias. Again, and there goes my depression again. Just when I start to like somebody, I had that second date, and I had to bring up whatever that happened 5 years ago, and I slid down a rabbit hole, and maybe that even happened. But here's the thing. We don't need to make it into, this is my Vermont example. In March, the snow is very wet. It's great for snow, for making snow people. So you make snow people, you make the big snowballs, right? So we don't want to make those feelings into heavy, wet snowballs. So when we push them downhill, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's unnecessary. It might be I did interrupt. It might be that you did bring up something on a second date that maybe could have waited till you had, a closer, more intimate relationship. Maybe that would have been a better time. Okay, but you can't unring a bell, so let it go. We don't need to push it downhill, let it get bigger, 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 which then turns our feelings into bigger, 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 which then has people reacting to our big feelings, and that typically makes their feelings bigger. So it is basically a snowball rolling downhill. That is largely created by something called confirmation bias. So once we are aware, a good friend of mine says that we cannot do what we do not know, right? We can't do what we don't know. Once we are aware, we become responsible. So whether that's us having sort of experiencing confirmation bias with groups of people out in the world. We talked about the whole prejudice thing. We talked about it in an event, or whether that's having confirmation bias with ourselves and beating up ourselves, focusing on where we are, mistakes we're making, let's say, things we need to work on, rather than focusing on where we sparkle. Okay. Once we become aware of that, then we become responsible to ourselves, really first, because that makes us better able to be loving and kind to other people, and responsible for others. First, we've got to get it. Can't do what we don't know. So confirmation bias is something to really get a handle on in general in life, or in life in general. And when the holidays, obviously we're thrown together with lots of people, many of whom we may love and like, and some maybe not so much. And to look at that as a challenge, like, go me. You got through the thing. You didn't just get through it. You actually enjoyed yourself because you shift your focus on maybe to an entirely different person who's easier, or you stayed with that person who's a little snarky, and you chose not to focus on the snark, but to shift into a place where they sparkle. Everybody's got something. Might be a much deeper dig for some people, but I must say most people have a nice sparkle. So that's it. Be aware of confirmation bias, and flip the script on your day. You flip the script on your days. You flip the script on your life, and it's all right here. It's all intentional. Have a good day.